Okay. So the first thing I can do is ask you to mute if you're not. And then we're going to wet the paper all over. Really do with the bigger brush. So we need a nice gradient for the, oh, you know what she's done before we did this? Is put in a line for the river. Never mind, we'll do it when it's dry. Well, it's not a river, it's a lake. So make sure that the paper's nice and wet. Look for your shine, sheen, whatever. And then with the same biggish brush, take some of your sky colour, your yellow, or yellow ochre, and one brush full and across, and just keep going across and back, and it will get lighter and lighter. And then we also want the dark bit to be at the bottom, so start at the bottom, a big brush load of it at the bottom, and then work up, and then you should meet somewhere in the middle, and it should be light. It's just going backwards and forwards with a big brush. So there we are. That's it. Can you? It looks a bit washed out, but I do have some colour in the middle there. Are you all right? So then I'm just going to put on. Right. I'm really sorry about the size of this. Just going to put on a little bit of the dark colour sky, the dark colour at the top. It's still wet. I have cleaned my brush. And it just pulls that down a little. And the same with the bottom. We're going to go up. So it's not a bright golden sky, and it's not a dark sky. I'm going to get a little bit more of the yellow, starting at the bottom and just pulling it up. You have to stop this. If it's starting to dry, you do have to stop this, otherwise you're going to get streaks. The key is quite a bit of water. Just put a little bit more dark at the top there. And at the bottom. See? Fiddling. That's what it's called. So that's about it. And now we have to wait for this to dry. I have marked the place of the sun, and I'm now going to do the vegetation at the side of the lake. And I've got plenty of moon glow, and I'm using a fairly large brush, size 8, and I'm just going to wiggle that in, being careful when it comes down to the water line, because we want that flat. We want it flat, right? I'm just wiggling around. There's my sun there. Right, and a bit more there. This is only sort of fairly rough at the moment, and then going up to the side there. We're not putting any of the little bits in at the moment. Now I've got a couple of trees that I want in. So with the same brush, pick up some colour, dab it on a tissue and splodge. Doesn't do the brush any good at all. So I've got my brush, my ordinary trees. If you have your brush too wet, it just blobs and doesn't get that rough look. I'm just doing it across the top of those bushes there. These bits are here are palms and these are palms. So we'll put the palms in a bit and a little bit of dabbing on there so that it doesn't just look like a line. So we've got a line of vegetation. I'm just going to tidy that up, although I don't need to, because we've got some reflections. And I'm just going across and leveling out that line. So now we've got a very simple sky, trees, water. With a smaller brush, I'm using this Princeton long round 4. It's got quite a nice point. Into the purpley colour. And now at the top of those bushes there, we want palm leaves sticking out. Just bits of palm. So you just get a block of colour and it's got bits sticking out. You've got a tree there. You don't have to do a whole head of palm. You can just do a couple of sticky out bits. And then with a fairly dry brush and dry paint, do some dabbing over with a dry brush and dry paint over that bit where the palm trees are, and it gives you a little bit of texture. And the same with this side. It's very dry paint. It's on dry paint, so it's just going to give it a bit of texture. As you can see, it now looks as if there's a bush there, coming over the top of the bush there, coming over, and it fools the eye into thinking. And then with this tree, the same thing. You've already been and done it once, but now you need a bit of darker colour, drier brush. Just to make the foliage on it. So it's a lot of, I'm just poking it onto the paper. I should probably have to buy a new one quicker than I thought. And then I want a bit of darker texture underneath this tree, as though there's a bush coming in front of that tree. And then we're going to tackle, there's two little palms that are taller than the rest. So when you're ready, we'll get to that. I'm just going to put in a bit of a tree trunk on this. Using the detail brush that I bought in India, and it's just given it a little bit of its skeleton. You don't need a great deal. Okay. We'll put in some palm trees now. So I'm using quite a small brush now, and I put the palm tree, I'm going to put one here. So you don't want a too thick a trunk because they're quite skinny. So that's one trunk. And if you're going to have two, you have them close together. Oh, gosh. Oh, hang on a minute. Palm trees then. So I'm going to do 3. They're very simple palm trees. Starting at the left first because that's probably easy. I'm using a small brush. Palm fronds, when you're looking at them head on, are a little bit shorter. At the top, fill it out a bit. I'm just doing a few little frondy bits on the long ones that come down, and I'm going to do the same up here. So a round circle. Pull that out. And then the third one exactly the same, a round circle. You wouldn't have any other sort of circle really. Shorter on the top because they actually fold over and you don't see the full length of them. Just put a few straggly bits on it. And that's it for a palm. You could actually put coconuts on if you want. So that's little dots at the top, just underneath the leaves. It's unnecessary, really, but there we are. Could fiddle about with them forever. Seeing as we've done them, we now need to put in the reflections. So find the bottom of one and follow the angle it's at and wiggle a line. Not all the way down to the bottom. So the second one, that leans over to the right. So this has got to go over to the right a tiny bit. It's a wiggle, it's a line that's wiggled intermittently. And the third one, that's fairly straight. Let's start there. And that's there. Now, I've got some tree trunks that I put in, so I just need to there'll be the main reflection, but I was just putting in the tree trunk to make it correspond. And now comes the messy bit. Yep, I'll see what we'll do first. We need the yellow ochre. If you're not good at doing a circle, draw around a coin and fill it in. If you're okay, then go for it. The yellow ochre. And this is about 22 minutes past 6 in the evening. Because at 25 minutes past, you wouldn't see that. And with the yellow ochre on the river, lake, do some wiggles. Side to side. Then with a clean finger, pull. It gets wider as you get further away. But pull. So you've just got a shimmer on the lake surface. And also, whilst that bit's drying, and to put off doing the reflections for a few more minutes, I'm just going to put some birds in, again with a very small brush. I just put some birds in across the sky there. And I think the time has come when we can no longer delay. Oh, are we all at that point? Having delayed long enough, I suppose I shall have to do these reflections. Make sure you've got a goodly amount of paint, not really too watery, not thick, not as it comes out of the, I don't know whether you can see mine. It's I don't know what you call it, whether it be milk, I don't know. Anyway, you'll need quite a bit because there's quite a bit of reflections to be done. Take it slow, and we'll start. I'm just going to do an inch at a time. So join it onto the waterline, pull it down, then with your finger, pull. Then you do the next bit. So there's that bit there, and with your finger. Now I've got a bit there. So then the next bit. Where you've got this tall tree, bring that down further so you can get the tall trees in. You've got short vegetation here, so you're not going to be pulling it down too far. And we're still doing very short here. And short here. Doesn't matter if it's going over the sun reflection. Then we've got a tall one. Bit longer. And these are taller this side. And the last one, a bit taller again. Pull it down. Maybe that one that comes down a bit more. That's I'm just, if you've got a bit of a gap in between the lake and the, don't worry about it, that's fine. And again, if you haven't, it doesn't matter either. So that's reflections fiddle around with. As you can see now, the reflections of the palm trunks, etc., have almost disappeared. So I'm just going over them. So I needed to do them first because I wanted to see where they were. And these are so you've wiggled your palm trees, and if you've gone over them, just give them a scrape with the finger, which is now mucky. Just pull it down, blur it a bit. And we've got the top of this palm tree here. So I'm just doing a little shape like that, and then with my finger, just rubbing it. And this one comes a bit further. And again, just doing a little shape there and just giving it a rub. And this one too. They're all in the picture. So paint in a sort of a scribble. I'm not happy here. So I'm just going to get a bit more paint. I've got a spike in my reflection that I didn't have in the shoreline. So I'll put a spike in the shoreline because I can't get rid of it in the reflection. So that's it. It's very easy to fiddle. I am just now putting a defined line along the shoreline. And then really, I ought to put my brush down. A darker line with some irregularities, so you've got the change in bank feel. And that's it. So just putting a bit of water on, and then on those palm trunks, and then pulling them sideways as well. The last thing is to put a few water lines in. So with my very thin brush and a clean damp brush, agitate the paint backwards and forwards in the same spot. Keep agitating. You want a thin line, and you get a bit of tissue and just wipe it off and you can't see a thing. Okay, so that didn't work. Sometimes it depends on your paint whether you can lift it, and I don't think I'm lifting this. No. So some Doc Martens white, if you've got it, some gouache, and just very gently draw some white lines. Not too many, just in those dark reflections. And that is that. Just make sure that they show up. And put one through one of the reflections of the palm, and that's it. That is it. I'm going to put my brush down. Stop recording.